Hello everybody. Looks like we are live. Let me get to my YouTube channel to see your comments. Come on, let's see. So today I have fresh new crumpets as well as Scottish shortbread, which is this one here, and then I have the McVitie's digestives, the chocolate covered digestives. Let's see. Here we go. Have to wait for the ad to go away. Who's here? We got Glenn. Hello, Glenn. Hello, Anthony. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Gordon. Hello, Jake. I'm doing great, Jake. How about you? Hello, Vincent. And hey, Ken. Hey, Ken, since you're watching, let's see here. Got some glues. So thank you to Ken, because I needed glues for putting together the train layout because it is in dire need of repair, and I needed fresh glue. So thank you again, Ken. And actually, moving this makes it easier to see the trains. All right, so now I can pre-warm these things. That's good. There we go. Go. That's good. Let that warm up for a little bit. All right. So yeah, crumpets again. I made some fresh today. Again, they don't look like much. To us Americans, they appear a lot like pancakes, except they're not sweet. They're really more just like bread. And I always describe them as kind of like, well, again, to my American friends, they taste like an English muffin, but they have the fluffiness of a pancake and the softness of a pancake. But they are like the same chewiness and the same flavor as an English muffin. So they're really good to have with butter. And then, again, for those who are just tuning in, I have Scottish shortbread, which I make here as well. It's just a little cookie, little shortbread cookie, basically. And then McVitie's digestives, they're like, I describe them as graham crackers with chocolate on them. That's how I describe them. But they're little tea biscuits. So, all food that is similar to what would have been on the Cunard Queens while they were crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Although, I will admit, Cunard had way fancier stuff than what I can do here. Cunard had, well, they still do their afternoon teas, and they look so amazing with all the different pastries and things that they make and crazy stuff. Maybe one day I'll be able to do that, but for now, it's just this simple afternoon style. So let's see. Tyler says, hello Alex, love the Queen Mary video I saw today, love it. Just finished watching SOS Titanic with Cloris Leachman as Molly Brown. Awesome. Yeah, this is not showing me the latest live chat. Here we go. Let's see. Where is the... Yes, happy Sunday, QMI. That would be, wait, yeah, today is Sunday, isn't it? I forgot. I was like, wait, Sunday? I was like, oh yeah, it is. For some reason, I thought today was Thursday. Alright, so, Dirt Dog, again, asking, how long can an ocean liner last? Once again, repeating my video names. Sarah says, hello Alex, was just watching another tea time on replay and doing taxes, of course. Welcome to the party. Yeah. Gosh. Oh no, Jake, you have COVID again? Oh, I hope you get well soon. Let's see. Hello Rayanne, how's it going? Vincent says, the more I watch, the more I crave crumpets. Yeah, they're really simple, really, really delicious things. I do hope soon that I'll have my cucumber sandwiches back again. So on Wednesday, I'm going to place a grocery order for all the stuff I need to make the cucumber sandwiches. Ken says, the video comparing Queen Mary to Queen Elizabeth was amazing. I feel like the Queen Elizabeth is so mysterious, and I honestly like the looks of her better than Queen Mary, but it seems like Queen Mary was more thought out. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth definitely, well, I mean, in a way it's the opposite. So in a way, Queen Elizabeth was more thought out because they had more time to really consider, I don't want to say the words like the things that were wrong with Queen Mary, but the things that they knew that they could improve with Queen Mary. And so some of those things was just frankly opening up the spaces a bit more. On the Queen Mary, a lot of the spaces are more cramped. And, you know, after they launched Normandy and people got to see Normandy and see how wide open all the spaces were, the Queen Mary in comparison was not as wide open of spaces. And to be honest, people preferred the wide open spaces. So with Queen Elizabeth, they realized they, you know, when they decided that they only wanted the Queen Elizabeth to be fuel efficient, they didn't need as many boilers and therefore not as many boiler rooms. And as a result, she only needed 2 funnels instead of 3. And those funnels, they take up a lot of space in the center of the ship because the funnel shafts go all the way through all the decks. So by getting rid of 1 funnel, they actually freed up a lot of space inside the ship. And so they were able to make Queen Elizabeth's interiors a bit larger than usual. I think even on a lot of ships, the promenade deck usually has higher ceilings than the other decks above and below it. And the Queen Mary is no different. On the Queen Mary, her promenade deck is closer to 10 feet tall, whereas other decks on the ship are closer to 8 feet tall. Well, for I think Queen Elizabeth, I think there was another deck they were able to increase the height of. But I'm still learning about Queen Elizabeth, so I'm not sure what deck that was. But there were, I think, 2 different decks that had like 9 or 10 foot ceilings and things like that. So I think these are done warming up enough. But yeah, so Queen Elizabeth, they were able to think more about her interiors. But I will say this, which is that I should have taken the lid off first. I will say this though, that for the Queen Elizabeth, people loved that ship even back then. But I think most of the passengers still preferred the Mary. I don't know, maybe it's because the Mary just had more history or something. Let's see. Thomas Brooks says, I love the live stream last night. Hope we do more. Actually, I kind of liked it too. I'm thinking about making it something every Saturday, because I will be cutting down the tea time live streams. Currently, we do them at 3 times a week. You know, we do Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. And I realized that while I enjoy the live streams, the tea time live streams, I think one of the reasons why not many people tune in is because there's so many of them. There's 3 of them a week, and they're pretty much, you know, each tea time is the same, one after another, essentially. So I feel like more people would join if it was a little bit more of a rare event. You know what I'm saying? So 2 times a week, I think, is probably the right amount. 411, so 416. So yeah, so what I'm thinking about doing for tea times is moving it from its current Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays to just Wednesdays, Sundays. Sundays are the most popular day for these live streams because, well, I mean, right now we only have 26 viewers, but usually on a Sunday I have closer to 50 at a time. So, because people usually have time on weekends to watch this stuff. So, yeah, I'm thinking the next tea time live stream after this one will be Wednesday, and from then on we'll just go Wednesdays, Sundays. But Saturdays are open. And the reason why is because I want to publish a history video every Friday. That way it has the whole weekend to gain a lot of views. But that leaves Saturday open. And I thought, you know, I did that Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth live stream yesterday, and I thought there's so much more to talk about. You know, I've only just barely scraped the surface. So I thought maybe I could do that every Saturday. And then some of those Saturdays will be the other special live stream, such as the one coming up this Saturday. That one is more specifically about Queen Mary's abandoned places, and it will have kind of like, you know, on some episodes we'll talk specifically about Queen Mary, and other episodes we'll talk specifically about Queen Elizabeth. But I will be joined by my friend Stephen Ablonsi from QMI Restore the Queen. He has a lot of knowledge about the history of both these ships, and he has work experience working on the Queen Mary in Long Beach through the 1990s and early 2000s. So he's got lots of stories, of just being backstage and stuff. I've talked to him for hours on it, and I'm always just fascinated listening to his, you know, cool little stories. Kind of the same way that people like hearing my stories about when I worked at Disneyland. You know, I have all these weird, quirky little stories about being there. So he's got the same thing for Queen Mary. He's got all those stories. And I thought, you know, it'd be really cool to talk about these abandoned places on the Queen Mary, and then occasionally switch over and talk about stuff that was on the Queen Elizabeth that most people don't really get to talk about much, you know. Whenever we see a video on Queen Elizabeth, it's usually like, you know, a little history video that a channel puts out, but no one really talks about the nitty-gritty stuff that was on the Queen Elizabeth the way I talk about it on the Queen Mary. And so, you know, my channel is going to keep going deeper and deeper into the Queen Mary and talking about, you know, how did it get heating? How did it heat its plumbing? You know, how did it ventilate its rooms? And what rooms were air-conditioned, what weren't? And, you know, just all the kinds of little things. What did the passengers eat? You know, what was a day like for a third-class passenger? Or, you know, or if a passenger was sick, where did they go? There were 2 different hospitals on the ship, you know. So, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, you know, there was a greenhouse on the Queen Mary, and one on the Queen Elizabeth as well, you know, that grew the flowers and stuff for the ship. And, you know, and that one I've never heard talked about. And so that's one of the things I want to explore. And so I feel like, you know, Steve can help me do that on my channel, because he's got a lot of knowledge that I don't have, and he's probably been to those places on the ship, to be totally honest. He's probably actually been to a lot of places that are probably today considered abandoned on the ship. And of course he's got stories being in there, and who he's talked to, and what he's learned, and, you know, so just a really great show. And so that'll only be twice monthly on Saturdays. So I thought, well, why don't I make the other 2 or 3 Saturdays, depending on what month it is. The other 2 to 3 Saturdays will just be me, by myself, talking to you guys about the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth on a live stream, just like I did yesterday. So, because that was a pretty successful live stream. So that's kind of my plan here. That's kind of my plan. 1 more minute on that tea. Let's see. Gordon says, hey Alex, is it true someone died on the Queen Mary because he drank some laundry detergent? It wasn't laundry detergent. It was a chemical used for cleaning, but yes, he mistook it for being alcohol, and he drank it. And he could have survived if he had got his stomach pumped, and his coworkers, his other officers, they encouraged him to go, to the med bay to, get his stomach pumped, and he probably could have survived that, but he chose not to. He insisted he'll be fine, and he died from the poisoning. So yes, it was a ship's officer. I'm not sure I don't remember off the top of my head what kind of officer. And I think the reason why I don't remember that is because I don't really focus too much on the deaths on the Queen Mary. And I think the reason, and not against anybody who wants to know about death, it's just that I feel like so much is always talked about the deaths on the Queen Mary that nobody really talks about the people who lived on the Queen Mary. So that's why I haven't really remembered who died on it. Oh yeah, Ken. Okay, I agree. The Queen Mary was more established than Queen Elizabeth, and the people who worked on her said that they preferred Queen Mary. Things ran like clockwork, but on Queen Elizabeth, it didn't quite work out that well. Tyler says there's a book called Queen Elizabeth, the Ultimate Ship. In the book, it is said that Queen Elizabeth was modeled after Normandy. I'm skeptical of that statement. Is it true? It's not really true. I mean, it might be correct to say that because of Normandy, they made some changes to the design before they launched her, which that could be true. But modeled after Normandy? I mean, anybody can see that when you compare the Queen Elizabeth to the Normandy, the two ships look nothing alike. But they probably did get a lot of ideas. Like, there were things like that people did like about Normandy, such as the wide open deck spaces up on the top. And I truly believe that, Normandy's wide open deck spaces probably inspired Queen Elizabeth's deck spaces to be like that. Because on Queen Mary, the sports deck is divided into several areas due to all the equipment up there. But on Queen Elizabeth, it was all one giant deck, which allowed people to go from one area of games and sports to another area of games and sports quite easily without going up and down stairs. So yeah, I do think that that probably, Normandy probably played a part in inspiring that, but I wouldn't say that she was modeled after Normandy. Let's see, dump this out. All right, make sure that's out of view. All right. Okay. Sugar. Whoa. It's funny because doing these videos on my channel where I talk about Queen Mary, it makes me happy because, it helps to fill that itch I have for going back to the ship. The ship is closed, so I can't go there at the moment, but it does help to fill that itch. But the other thing it does too is it fans the flames, for me wanting to go back. So while it does help for me to to talk about the Queen Mary on my channel, it also makes it worse because then I just really want to go back and appreciate more of the ship that I didn't get to appreciate last time. So, yeah, there's kind of like a double-edged sword there, but I just love talking about the Queen Mary. Let's see. Mike Marin says, any word on how much the tour tickets will be for the Queen Mary? No, those ticket prices are always set by whatever company is leasing the ship at the moment. They tell the Evolution Hospitality, the custodial company, they tell them what they want the prices to be. So Evolution Hospitality, I do believe that they will continue to run the ship after the ship reopens. But this, they'll have to come up with a new price, or maybe they'll keep the same price. I don't know. I'm hoping they'll lower the price, actually, because the previous price to get on the Queen Mary, to get tour tickets and rooms, was exorbitantly expensive for how empty the ship could be. Vincent says, "Hey Alex, I know you're not a fan of the Normandy, but what's your stance on the SS France? Would you possibly do a video on it?" The SS France is too new for me. I only like ships that are before World War II, so I don't see myself covering too many ships after World War II. I might cover the QE2, but that's about it. The SS France, the second one, it doesn't appeal to me, but the first SS France does. The SS France from 1916, I think it was. That one definitely appeals to me. So that one I might talk about. Well, actually, Mike, I'm have more viewers right now than I usually have. I have about 40 people watching at least, I think. Hard to tell. On here it says 40, but yeah. Evan Scott says, "Alex, it was sad about the Queen Mary's first class pool." Oh yeah, I know. That was one thing that I knew people probably wanted me to talk about, was the first class pool, and I'm still going to make an official video about it, a video that goes more into depth about what happened to the first class swimming pool and why it's in the condition it is today. And it'll show more pictures and things. Besides Normandy, Aquitania, and SSUS, are there any other liners you don't like? No, I do like Aquitania. I really do. I like Aquitania on the inside. I don't like the outside of the Aquitania so much, but I will be making a video about the Aquitania and talk about the interiors and all that. But I do like the Aquitania. I wouldn't put it in the same category for me as Normandy and SSUS. But are there any other liners I don't like? Oh, there's tons of them. There's tons of them. Because, for one thing, I'm not a fan of post-war ships. So anything after post-war, I don't really have anything to say about it. There's, but then there's a few pre-war ships I don't like. It would just be too long for me to describe them all. Oh, of course I dropped that thing. But yeah, it's kind of like asking people who are into cars, are there any cars you don't like? They could go days and days on cars they don't like. Because, some people, they just like certain things and don't like other things. So I'm going to scrape this thing off the... And John Johnson, I like the Ile-de-France prior to her post-war refit. Because she had a post-war refit that made her look more modern, and I don't like that. I liked the way the Ile-de-France looked before the refit. And Ken says, I like that you're not afraid to make your opinion constructively known. Yeah, well, because I know there's people out there who like one thing more than the other, there were a few people who commented on my videos. They're like, I can't understand how you have ocean liners you don't like. And, I just want to tell them, I can't understand how you like every single ocean liner out there. Like, that's baffling to me, you know? Like, you know, do you like every single apartment that's ever been constructed in humanity? Do you like every single car that's ever been built, or every single city that's ever been, you know, created? People have favorites, you know, like, and so I'm the same way with ocean liners and the same way with trains, and, you know, I have favorites. So, and I know that there's a lot of people who do, and they're afraid to say anything, because a lot of people in the ocean liner community, they will try to shut you down because you have an opinion that's different than theirs. Just yesterday, someone commented on my Normandy video, the I Hate Normandy video. That video was really more, I created that video more as a test, to test people, to see how they react to something that is different from their opinion. There's something that we call, you know, tolerance and intolerant disagreement. And so there's agreeing with tolerance, or I'm sorry, disagreeing with tolerance, which means that, okay, you don't like my opinion, you don't agree with it, but you respect it. You're like, all right, fine, you can think that, you know. That's disagreeing with tolerance. But there are some people who disagree with intolerance. And that means that they're like, no, you need to stop. You can't make that video, delete it. That's a bad opinion. And I don't like people like that, because the thing is that opinions are what help shape our society. You know, even our opinions on style and art, you know, there are some artistic styles that have died out because people have, you know, have shown that they're not interested in it. And, you know, that's how things change in this world. So, you know, opinions can be really useful when a vast majority of people, you know, express them. And I think it's really important that people learn to be tolerant of not agreeing with other people's opinions. You know, and because what works for one person may not work for other people. And, you know, and that's cool, you know. I have lots of friends and family who have varying opinions, you know, that differ from mine, or sometimes align with mine. And either way, I respect them, you know. I have family who live a completely different lifestyle than I would ever dream of living. But I don't sit there going, oh, that's the wrong way to live. You know, I just go, oh, wow, that's, you know, that's a unique way of living your life, and I like it, you know. So it's astounding to me how many people went into the comment section to berate me and, you know, call me all kinds of names, and that part didn't bother me, because I created the video to make that kind of thing bubble up to the surface. I wanted people like that, people who are so intolerant, to really show their colors. And then that way other people who watch the video and who look at the comment section, they can go, oh wow, I didn't realize there were so many people who became almost violent over the fact that other people don't have the same opinions that they do. But anyway, back to this person yesterday. He said that, you know, the reason why I didn't like Normandy was because I couldn't stand to look at anything that was more beautiful and less ugly than I am. I thought, you know, that is such a strange thing to say. From a psychological standpoint, it's almost like the person is projecting. They're projecting because they feel that, you know, that if they like that ship and they consider it beautiful, they think better of themselves. They think, well, I know good art and style because I like the Normandy. And, you know, and that's not how I think of things. You know, I love the Queen Mary, but I don't think of myself going, oh yeah, well, you know, anybody who doesn't like the way Queen Mary looks is, you know, obviously doesn't know anything about art and style. I don't think that way, you know. And I reminded the person, you know, I commented back to them, I said, you know, I said in my video, I do not judge people who like the Normandy. I said, I don't agree with, you know, the fact that they like the Normandy. I don't, you know. But I can appreciate the Normandy. I appreciate, you know, the art and the style that it, you know, all the effort it took to make that. I appreciate that artisans went in there and gave it their all to make something beautiful. I just think that when you stuff a room full of too much art, it can be a bit overwhelming. That's all. That's the basic of my opinion, but the way that people reacted to it was like, you had to sit back and just eat popcorn and watch them go nuts. Just watch them go absolutely bonkers over something as simple as, oh, I'm not into that art or style. And someone commented on my Queen Mary tour video today, because I have a virtual tour video. And they said, after watching my video, going through the entire Queen Mary and stuff, and explaining all the history and the art, they said, I think this ship looks ugly on the inside. They said because it reminds me of those old pubs, I think they said, pubs in England that are, you know, that are filled with the tar from tobacco smoke. And this person just hated the way the Queen Mary looked on the inside. I didn't respond and go, oh, that's, you know, that's terrible. The things you said are awful. I didn't do that because I'm like, well, you know, that person just doesn't like the way it looks. You know, I don't like going into casinos. I don't think casinos look nice. That's just my opinion. So, you know, I didn't delete that person's comment. I didn't get angry and type something back to them. I just left it, you know. That's their opinion. So that's the whole point of the Normandy video, was to really see what is this society of ocean liner fanatics really like when you disagree with them. Thomas Brooks says, Alex, do you have any plans for the 110th anniversary of the Titanic disaster on Thursday? I'm trying to organize something, but the thing is I know so very little about Titanic. I can't create something of my own to show you guys. I know way too little of it. So I'm trying to organize something where I can bring someone else in. And I'm waiting for them to respond. But it's been a couple days, they haven't responded yet. So I might think of trying to reach out to them in another format. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm hoping that I can kind of create like a little surprise for you guys. But if I can't, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I don't know much about Titanic. And frankly, every time I open my mouth about it, like 50 people correct me. So it's like, you know, I don't want to be that person who is talking about it who doesn't know anything, you know. RMS Queen Mary says, what happened to the SS Britannic? It sank during the war. Oh, SS Britannic. Scrapped in 1903, says Jake. I'm guessing before the HMHS Britannic, there was a different SS Britannic by that answer. RMS Queen Mary says, does smoke come out of motorized vessels? In a way, yes. It's not easy to see, because usually with the motorized vessels, the amount of fuel that is used up usually means that less exhaust, not exhaust, but less smoke is produced. Usually with like a type of oil burning engine, you can achieve a much cleaner exhaust. So with motorized vessels, you don't usually see large plumes of smoke coming out, because they burn cleaner, you know. That's not to say that they were absolutely great for the environment, but they just burned a little bit cleaner. All right. Thomas says, I really want to go to the Queen Mary, but I live on the East Coast, so it takes a whole trip to visit her. Oh, I know what you mean. I live 1,000 miles north of the Queen Mary. I couldn't just drop everything and go if I wanted. It would be a whole ordeal to get down there. But hopefully I will, you know. RMS Queen Mary says, what happened to the RMS Campania? I don't know yet, actually. Octarian says, what if the American Star never beached or broke up? Probably would have lasted, you know, another decade or so, maybe, on the ocean as a cruise ship and such, but eventually people would have seen it was so old and outdated, it probably would have ended up being scrapped. But there is a slight chance that due to its historical significance, maybe someone would have tried to preserve it the way that they did with SS United States. Although that's not saying much because SS United States was completely gutted, but maybe there's a tiny little slim chance someone would have tried to prevent it from being scrapped. But hard to say, you know. Jeffrey says, are most of your viewers from the U.S. or overseas? I believe most of them are from the U.S., but I'm getting a growing number of people from the overseas, especially from Western countries, such as the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and then a few other countries such as India, and I have seen a few commenters from Norway, Sweden, and I want to say Sri Lanka? No. I feel like some people told me they're from Sri Lanka. Huh. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm getting people from all over the world, but I think the majority of my viewers are from the United States. RMS Queen Mary says, what happened to the RMS Majestic? I don't know. Tyler says, I'm so displeased with what Disney did to Queen Mary. Oh, me too. I agree. It was awful. Oh, Mike Marin says he's leaving. Okay, see you later, Mike. Yeah, the Oceanic from 1899, one of the ships I love the most. So sad that it met that you know, that kind of end, you know, being grounded and stuff. Was really a beautiful ship. Ken says, I hate how it seems like we are obligated to love certain ships like Titanic. I do, for the record. But Normandy, I am 50-50, yet there is still something about her that fascinates me immensely. Oh yeah, she's a fascinating ship. Normandy is for sure a fascinating ship. It is interesting to learn different things about the Normandy and about, you know, how it operated and stuff. That's the funny thing, is like people think that in order to be fascinated, in order to appreciate a ship, you have to love it. And that's the thing, is like you don't. You know, you don't have to love something. to be able to appreciate it, you know? It's like my sister, whenever I talk about the Queen Mary, you know, my sister isn't, you know, in love with the Queen Mary the way I am, you know, but she does find it fascinating to hear these different little fun facts and things. But she doesn't have to love it, you know, and so that's how I am with a lot of other ships, especially the Normandy. Don't love it, but, you know, it is interesting to hear what was on the ship, how it was installed, how it was built, how the ship ran, all that kind of stuff. Queen Mary says, what happened to the HMS Homeric? I don't know. John Johnson says Teutonic and Oceanic 2 would be great topics. They would, yeah. I have a book on Oceanic, and I do want to make videos about the Oceanic. Man, my back is hurting. But gosh, it takes so long to research these topics. And it kind of bums me out because, you know, there's a lot of topics I want to get to, but I know that nobody's going to watch the video. So, like, for instance, on Friday, I put out my Benson Hotel video, and I knew that it was not going to be a popular video. But I had this, like, little shadow of a doubt in my head that said, no, I think people will love this. I think it'll blow up. But, as usual, my first thought was correct. The video has only got maybe 500 views right now, I think. Nobody watched it. A good viewership for 2 days later is, for me, is by now, if there was 3,000 or 4,000 views on it, then it's a very successful video. If it has 2,000 views, then it's average success. It has like just over 500 views. Not a successful video at all. That's because no one's clicking on it. So, you know, and it's difficult because a lot of people, including myself, hate clickbait, right? We hate seeing something that looks interesting on the title, and then you click on it and it doesn't show what was in the thumbnail. I hate clickbait, but the problem is that if you're like me and you try to meet it in the middle, right, and you go, okay, well, I'm gonna create a title and a thumbnail that looks super interesting, but is also the same topic mentioned in the video, then you think, oh, well, then that's great. Well, the problem is that you still get tons of people who feel like they were clickbaited. You know, maybe they feel like, you know, even though what's on the thumbnail and the title is mentioned in the video, the thumbnail and title was more interesting than the video. So that's kind of one of the problems, is I get all these people that go like, oh, this is clickbait and whatever, and I go, you know, the thing about clickbait is it works. It's really sad because my Benson Hotel video, it doesn't have clickbait on it. No clickbait whatsoever. And it's to prove to people that you can have a really good video. I know it's a good video. People who've watched it have loved it. The 500 or so people have loved it. At the moment, I don't believe there is a single dislike on that video. Of course, now that I said that, whoever hates me and who's watching this is probably going to go and dislike it right now. But still, point is that it's a really good video. But the thing is, you need clickbait for people to watch it. Otherwise, they won't do it. You know, it's like what I said back when I was a chef. You know, people eat with their eyes. You know, and it's the same thing for videos. They'll watch the video if there's something so unbelievably fascinating about the thumbnail. And so clickbait does work. And it's unfortunate because sometimes my videos, I have to do that just to get people to watch it. You know, and you guys have seen my videos. There's nothing fake about the videos. There's nothing, you know, deceitful about the videos. You get exactly what you expect as soon as you watch it. And so yeah, so that's why, like, it's upsetting when people who've never been to my channel before, they go, oh, this is clickbait. And it's like, yeah, but it's a good video. And couldn't you just appreciate it for it being good? Did it have to be all, you know, crazy and wacky as the thumbnail, you know? I don't know. And then there's lots of people on YouTube who talk to you like they could have done it better. I'm open to people doing it better. If you think you can do a better version of one of my videos, do it. You know, I love watching YouTube videos and learning history. So, if someone thinks that they can do a better Benson Hotel video than me, go and do it. But the thing is that these people who comment this, they don't want to do anything better. They want you to do better. Which is silly. It's like, you know, imagine if I called up the Lifetime channel and was like, stop making your movies so dramatic. Just tell a good story for once, you know. So it's just like, it's silly. If you don't like it, you know, that doesn't mean that you were deceived. It just means that you just didn't like it, you know. It's just weird. People can be really weird. Yeah, Homeric is a ship I have to learn more about. I've heard a lot of people really like the Homeric. See. Cunard says, it was through Alex's dislike of Normandy and his talking about it that I looked into her and have found that I love Normandy. Thank you, Alex. You're welcome, Conrad. I'm glad I could turn you over to the light side of the Force. Tyler, I don't see myself talking about American ships. That's the thing. Like, the America line, it doesn't interest me. I don't really like I like the European and the British ships, you know. They just looked better. They looked nicer. The American ships always looked so industrial. And that's what I didn't like about them. They looked so industrial. I like a nice, like, clean-looking, you know, ship. Ken, don't worry about asking me questions, Ken. I love answering questions. That's exactly what this thing is for. If I didn't have any questions to answer, it would just be me sitting here eating in silence. So I actually like answering questions. But you asked, do you ever think they will stop marketing the Queen Mary as haunted and realize that they are doing themselves no justice in doing so? Oh, at this rate, I don't think they'll stop. I wish they would, you know. I want to make a video talking about how the Queen Mary could be done better. Because for those of you who've been around since my very first Queen Mary video, which is no longer up, by the way, was called Let's Save the Queen Mary. And it was done at a very critical junction when we didn't really know where the Queen Mary was going to go. There was a time in the year 2021 when we really thought she was going to be scrapped. So I made that video to try to save her. And that video had some pull. Not much. It's not like it changed everybody's mind, but it really got people thinking, and that's the good thing. I have a feeling that in some peripheral way, that video helped. But that video, part of that video was talking about my ideas for what I would do differently with the Queen Mary to make her more successful. And admittedly, you see, I had created a list, right? A list of things I would do to make the Queen Mary successful. Now, I didn't want to give all those ideas away for free because I was really hoping, maybe I could make a job out of this. If someone wants to hire me to help them set up the Queen Mary and get it going, then I'll need to have some cards up my sleeve, So I held back on that video. I only told like some very basic things. And people, most people liked the ideas, but there were a lot of people who were kind of like, oh, those ideas will never work. And I thought, well, to be honest, these are the worst of my ideas. I have way better ideas that I haven't told anybody yet. And now that the Queen Mary is not going to land in the hands of private investors, I no longer have any ambitions that I'll be hired by any company to run the Queen Mary, Well, not me to run it, but I mean like hired by the company to help generate ideas. So now I'm like, well, what am I going to do with all these ideas? I still have my list of ideas with me. And I thought I'll make a video about it. Maybe somebody who has the influence to help the ship will see the ideas and pick and choose some that will work for them, Because there's lots of ways to make the ship successful. It's just that you need someone with imagination, So... Octarian says, what if Titanic and Britannic never sank? Then how would it affect history and would be the new Titanic sinking in that timeline? I mean, I suppose without Titanic or Britannic sinking, we wouldn't have the safety features that we have today on ships. Everything from, the physical safety features to the operational safety. I suppose that other ships would have been more cavalier, but at the same time, eventually there would have been a terrible disaster that, that would have taught people a lesson. Eventually, I have this theory that when it comes to a new technology, it is inevitable that we learn how to make it safe. It's inevitable because someone's going to die. It's gonna kill someone sometime. And so when people tell me like, oh, there's this new thing and it's perfectly safe, I go, no, it's not. It's only safe because no one's died yet. It's like when people are telling me like, oh, vaping is safe, it's fine, it's fun, it's great. And now we're starting to see people are dying from it, and we don't really know why yet. And that's the funny thing, is like, I always tell people, ever since I was a teenager, I told people the same thing. I said, just because it's new and no one's died yet doesn't mean that it's not, that it's safe. It means that it's, that we just don't know yet. And so I have this theory that, that even if Titanic never sank, and it didn't teach anybody a lesson, eventually something would have happened that taught people a lesson. And eventually we would have worked out that kink, It's inevitable. So, yeah. Joe says, hi Alex, I enjoy your content. Have you ever thought of making any videos on train disasters? Train disasters? It never occurred to me to do that. Maybe one day I will, if the story is good. I don't like just talking about disasters, like, I don't just like going, oh, this is how many people died and stuff, because this might sound weird to a lot of people, because I am different from a lot of people in a certain way that I don't like talking about death. I don't like the subject of death. That's why you almost never hear me talk about it on my channel unless it's absolutely necessary to the history of something. And that's why I almost never talk about things being haunted either, you know. I did one video on Queen Mary. I did a few videos on Disneyland about it being haunted, but I don't like talking about death. And the reason why is because a lot of people become obsessed with those details. And it makes me feel uneasy how obsessed people get with the details of someone's death. It's weird to me, you know. It's like, oh no, but you know, William Murdoch, he didn't have Earl Grey before he died. He you know, he had English breakfast tea before he died, and his blood got into the tea, and I don't, you know, that's not true. That's not a real thing. But I'm just saying, like, people get really obsessed with the details of accidents and disasters and death, and I don't like talking about that stuff, you know. So I try to avoid it wherever I can. Vincent says, is the SS City of New York interesting to you, Alex? It's old, but nobody talks about it. Not really. I don't know what it is. American ships don't interest me. RMS Queen Mary, why do you keep asking what happened to all these different ships? I can't answer it, you know. What happened to MV Georgic? What happened to SS California? What happened? I don't know. I'm so new to the ocean liner community. I don't know. But I'm glad some people are answering your questions, because I certainly don't know. Jeffrey Charles says, you need a theme song for your channel. That would be cool. I had a theme song, and then I got copyrighted over it. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. That's why like all my videos had to be removed from my channel. That's why I'm still barely putting them all back up, is because I had a theme song for my channel and I got copyrighted over it. Conrad says, Benson Hotel, too bad. I would rather hear about something new than the same old thing all the time. Just the fact that you made a video on it was enough for me to know it was worthy of my time. Thank you. That's how I feel about it, you know, like I want to occasionally cover something that nobody's really covered before. Like, I actually looked on the internet on the Benson Hotel to see if anybody's made a video on the Benson Hotel. They've made walkthrough videos, but no one's made a history video on the Benson Hotel or of Simon Benson. So I thought, well, you know, this is a subject that is really worth learning about, you know. He was a good guy, you know. And the hotel is amazing. I walked in there and I was like, this place is amazing. And what was great about it too was that I knew I wanted to film the Benson. And I told my friend who was visiting at the time, you know, I said, okay, well, today when we're passing through that area, we're gonna stop at the Benson so I can do some filming. And so he was like, okay, and we walked in there and he was pretty interested in the place. He was like, oh wow, this is actually really cool. And I ended up talking to one of the clerks at the front desk, and you know, she was so nice. And because I asked her, I said, "Is it okay if I film in the lobby?" Because you know, businesses get weirded out when you start filming in them. So I said, you know, I'm really an enthusiast of architecture and design. I said, I would love to film this lobby and you know, get it from all kinds of angles and stuff. Can I do that? And she was like, oh yeah, go ahead. And after she saw that I was serious, I was actually filming the lobby and everything. She came out with like a printout of information about the hotel and about Simon Benson, and that was really cool because it wasn't information that was on their website. I looked, it's not the same thing. What she printed out for me was way more information than what I could find on the internet at all. So I was really thankful. I was like, this is what made my video really good, was I had a whole bunch of extra details. So these crumpets are really good. they're oddly shaped because last time I made them with a mold, like a ring mold, and I poured the batter into the ring mold to make it a nice even shape. And it turned out nice looking, but the problem was that it took forever to cook it. So I thought, well, if I pour it on straight onto the pan, like a pancake, maybe it'll cook faster. And it did. It cooked way faster. And made it easier to cook a lot of them at the same time, you know. Thomas says, as you mentioned during the stream yesterday, I hated that they didn't use the space for the Turkish baths for the spa instead of first class cabins. Oh yeah, I agree. That makes me angry to this day, because I remember when I went to visit the ship for the last time, I knew that the Queen Mary once had Turkish baths, and I was on main deck filming this little lobby on main deck, and as I turned the camera, I saw on the wall it said Queen Mary Spa this way. And I thought, well, that's weird. We're like 4 decks up from the Turkish baths. So obviously the spa, they didn't use the Turkish baths for the spa. And then I walked over to where the spa was, and it's inside a set of cabins. And I went on their website to look at the spa. And on the website, it showed that they were in fact cabins that operated as individual rooms for the clients. And I was just like, why? You had Turkish baths downstairs. Even if you know someone else made the mistake of tearing out the Turkish baths, you know, each company that operated the ship since then could have easily just, you know, restored those cabins and reopened the spa in the Turkish baths. It would have made way more sense, you know. And then you could have told people, oh, you're getting your massage or your therapy here in the original Turkish baths of the Queen Mary. Why wouldn't you, you know, like, and it's not like spas need windows, you know, most spas don't have windows, you know, to the outside world. And there are no usable windows in the Turkish baths area of the Queen Mary because it's, you know, it's basically where it is those windows would look out onto the elevator platform on the dock. So there's nothing to look at anyway. So it's not like they need windows to look out of, you know. So it's ridiculous that they don't have that. But the interesting thing is, if you go to our deck, you enter the ship from our deck, immediately on your left, before the elevators, was the entrance to the Turkish baths. So it was right there. You could just walk right up to it. That's how easy it would have been. It's not like it was, you know, in some faraway place that would have made it difficult for people to get to. In fact, if you want to go to the Queen Mary's spa today, it's hard to get to because it's on main deck down the hallway. It's like you have to enter from either A deck, which is below, or from promenade deck, which is above. Find your way down a staircase, down to main deck, and then, you know, go look for the spa. It's like, it's way harder to find the spa today. It's just ridiculous, you know. As you can see, I have a lot of pent-up anger. That's why I do these tea time live streams, to get all the anger out. So, finally I'm refilling my tea before it gets cold. I have a habit of letting the tea get very, very cold before I refill it, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want it now that it's cold. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, Ken says, I'm going to the Benson Hotel for my birthday dinner in May. I was inspired by your video. Oh, nice. Thanks. Yeah, I think you'll like it there. Some of the... So the public rooms on the lower levels, such as like the banqueting spaces, all that, a lot of those are completely original. It's the hotel rooms that have been updated several times since. But the fact that there's so much, you know, in the public spaces of the hotel that is original, it's really cool. I only wish that I could have got permission to film in the ballrooms and stuff like that. That would have been really neat. That would have been great, but I didn't want to push it, you know, because, you know, if I was at like the Disneyland Hotel, vloggers filmed those hotels all the time, so no one would have questioned it. But the fact that I'm in some, you know, hotel in a completely different city, and a city that doesn't normally get tons of tourism, you know, it would have just been weird. But yeah, it is a beautiful hotel, and like I say, when you go there, be sure to check out the bubbler right out front. You know, it's a good homage to, you know, to Simon Benson. So. Carl says, hi Alex, this morning I was looking some vintage cartoons from when I was young to show my kids a French show, Felix and Ciboulette, from the mid-80s. And I was stoked the topic was Titanic. I don't understand what that means, but yeah. Jake says, your video is one of the top videos when you search up Benson Hotel. That's good because because I need people to watch that video. John says, hi. Hello, John. Thank you. I'm glad you like my videos. Cunard says, I can't imagine what is clickbaity about the Benson video. A man in his hotel, the interior, the exterior, and then we learned about his bubblers. I wanted to create a clickbaity title and thumbnail for that video, but I couldn't think of anything. I was like, what could possibly be clickbaity about it? There was no like if there was a photograph of like some kind of major damage or something, that could have been useful for making the thumbnail appear more interesting, but there wasn't, you know, like nothing super bad happened at the hotel. So it's like there was nothing to use. But yeah. John says, make a video about the Bremen and the Europa and their history. Eventually I will. Yeah, I have a lot of videos to get to before that, though. Lots of other ocean liners and stuff that I'm still learning about. It takes a long time to research these ocean liners. I don't do what most people do, where they just type up on Google real quick and they go, okay, I'm going to write down what's on Wikipedia. I actually go through everything and verify that the things I'm saying in my videos are correct, because so many people spread misinformation or even just rehash old information over and over again. I like to tell people stuff that's new, stuff that they've never heard before. So it'll take me a long time to get to Bremen and Europa. So RMS Queen Mary says, I just finished my paper nomadic. Awesome. Yeah, the QE2 was almost scrapped. James B says, I like the Cunard poster on the wall. Thanks. I do too. It's one of my favorite posters. Conrad. No Phantasmic for the Queen Mary. Strasbourg says, hey Alex, what would you rate better, Queen Elizabeth or Britannic? Queen Elizabeth. Let's see. Strasbourg says, like Joe B said, a train disaster video you should make is a big bayou wreck, the worst Amtrak crash in America. I don't do that stuff, you know, like, I do old history, like old stuff, you know, like, I like talking about stuff from before, you know, the war and stuff like that, you know. I like old things, Victorian age, Edwardian age, Art Deco age, but nothing after that, so it's just not my thing, you know, like, you'll notice that there's, you know, that there's a pattern on my channel of really old, like, steam history, so I don't do modern stuff like that. Yeah. LMG vids. In your dreams. Ken says, Alex, have you ever considered doing a screenplay for a Queen Mary themed movie? Your writing and narrative style qualifies you for such an endeavor. That'd be kind of cool, actually, to make a screenplay for a Queen Mary movie. I always felt like Queen Mary was deserving of a good movie, you know, like, I feel like any movies made about the Queen Mary, or even inspired by the Queen Mary, are always about her ghosts. And I'm like, you know, she deserves something way better, you know? Well, then again, there was the Poseidon Adventure. That was inspired by the Queen Mary, but again, it was inspired by disaster, not by something real. So yeah, maybe I should think about doing that. ScanFan Ed says, Alex, I don't know a lot about YouTube monetization. If I may ask, can live streams such as this be good financially for you, or is more hoping viewers will subscribe and watch posted videos? Thanks. So live streams are really good for getting engagement of my viewers, because my history videos are really good at getting views. But the thing is that sometimes what can really help a channel is if your viewers feel connected to the person who's on the channel. You create viewer loyalty, if you will. It's the same thing that happens with marketing, you know, like at a restaurant or something. You want to create a connection with the people who are coming to make them feel welcome, to make them feel like, you know, this is some place I like to be. And that's the same thing on this channel I want to do. I want people to feel like they can come here and enjoy talking with someone like me or others who are in the chat who love talking about ships and stuff like that. And it works. There's a lot of people here who, you know, who love talking about ships, and, you know, and they love having tea or coffee or whatever at this time of day, and just being able to connect with other people who like the same thing. So these live streams are actually really good for the channel, but they're also really good for me, which is why I was doing them 3 times a week, because, you know, it helps me to be able to talk to people, you know. Yeah, all of my friends are in Southern California. All my family are in Southern California, so it's hard at times because I don't have many people up here that I can hang out with. So doing these live streams is really great to be able to talk to people. Oh, Jake left. See you later, Jake. Vincent says, I wish ocean liners would return. Airplane tickets are expensive. I agree. It would be really cool if people got across the oceans and stuff on ocean liners, simply because of all that. Oh, ScanFan Ed, thank you so much. I hope this helps you just a bit. Appreciate all your hard work and such great content. Thank you so much. It's so nice. Ken says, please don't stop what you're doing. You are awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Ken. That's so nice of you. I don't want to stop. I love doing this. I love doing all this. Like, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding, you know. I think everybody wants to feel like the things that they like, they want to find people who are also interested in those things. So, sorry. chewing. So most of my life, I've had all these interests, you know, and I've rarely found people who have those same interests. So I've always had to build models and stuff and do all this stuff by myself and, you know, talk about Titanic or trains or steam engines and, you know, all that stuff. I had to do all that stuff by myself and not have anyone to talk to. So, you know, this channel is a way for me to be able to connect with other people who are interested in the same things I am. So, yeah, it's really nice. Octarian says, what if Titanic set sail during the night instead of the day? I don't know. I don't know. Cunard says, do you think there's room for a dragon to rise out of Queen Mary's funnel? I think so. I think it can be managed. Crystal says, when did you start your model railroad? So this one, I started, oh gosh. It had to have been 2019, I think. Sometime in 2019 is when I did. But then I had to move in 2020. I had to move up here to Portland. So for 2 years, you know, since I got here in the year 2020, I haven't been able to work on this at all. In fact, what's kind of upsetting is I was looking through my boxes the other day looking for the power pack that powers up this whole thing. I don't have it anymore. So I moved twice since I've been up here, and it got lost in that time that I moved. So I would have to buy a new power pack, and the one I need, I don't think they make it anymore. And so I'd have to find it on eBay. And on eBay, it's not too expensive. I've seen ones that are like $40 plus shipping. But still, it's like, I don't want to pay a total of $55, $60 on something that I already had, you know? Like, I already had a power pack for this thing. But anyway, but before I had this one, I've had other train layouts, you know? Like, I think my very first train layout I built in 2010, I think it was my very first train layout, 2010. Is that right? Yeah, that's right, 2010 was my very first train layout. But even then, I've had model trains my whole life. Like, ever since I was a little kid, I've had model trains and stuff. But yeah, so this layout is the newest version, newest one. And eventually I'll get it running, you know. Have to buy a new power pack, I guess, but I think it was stolen, to be totally honest, because for a while there was a guy who was going around to all the garages in this apartment complex, and every morning someone else's garage would be wide open, and like power tools and stuff were stolen from their garages, and people were complaining about it, but this person was never caught, you know. We have security that drives around the property at night, but they're not here constantly. They can't see everything. So one day I went to my garage, and the door was like wide open, and I didn't think he stole anything, because like I had a television in the garage, like a perfectly good television. It didn't steal that, you know. It didn't seem like he stole anything, but my box for my train set, so I kept everything in one giant box, right? And it had all the trains and everything and the power pack. But I looked at the train box and it was cut open. The guy had opened my train box, and all the little boxes in that box with all the stuff, all the supplies in it, all those were open. I didn't notice anything stolen. But now I think he stole the power pack, which is really weird because the power pack is not very useful for most things. The reason why is because it translates the high voltages from your wall into a very tiny voltage that runs these trains. And I'm like, I don't think that would be useful for most applications. It's the power is not even enough to turn on a light bulb, you know? So I'm like, I don't know why, but I think that was one of the things that was stolen. I think also I had a... Oh yeah, there is one other thing that was stolen. So I build models, that's what I do. I have a special air pump that's designed to allow me to spray model paint onto models. The pump is missing. It's just gone. It was sitting there in the garage just on its own, and I think the guy stole it. So yeah, so I have to buy a new pump. Those pumps are like $100 at the cheapest. They're $100. Some of them are closer to $150. So I think he stole the pump too, which again I thought that was really weird. I was like, you know, he was going into other people's garages and stealing power tools. So what did he want with an air pump and a power pack? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But they're missing, and I never opened those boxes because for 2 years, I had no reason to work on the train set, you know. There was nothing. So, yeah. It's really unfortunate. So that's close to $200 worth of things that are missing that I have to buy back, so... Mike Marine says, Alex, a 1966 movie that revolved around the Queen Mary was Assault on a Queen. It was about some bad guys robbing the Queen at sea. It had Frank Sinatra in it. I just got home and out again. Alright, see you later. That's pretty cool, though. MSG says, hey, Alex, I have a 1940s to 1950s Lionel layout in my basement. That's pretty cool. I have a friend named Richard who has a Lionel layout. His just keeps growing. He loves collecting Lionel trains and stuff. Gordon says, depending on the company that made your track, I would recommend a Bachmann power pack. I wouldn't recommend Bachmann. I had a much more expensive power pack. Mine was a good company. It was MRC Rail Power. It was an MRC Rail Power power pack. So it was a nice one. Bachmann is like the low end version of power packs. Like Bachmann is the low end version of everything actually. It's like if you want to get cheap trains and cheap equipment, Bachmann is the one. I don't like Bachmann because they've had a very poor reputation for build quality. And plus, the Bachmann power packs, they aren't sensitive enough for these trains. Once you start getting into lower voltages, they start just blipping out. They don't work. So that's why I had a really expensive power pack. It was a really nice one. It was MRC Rail Power, which are proven to be really good power packs. But yeah, so... I even thought about making my own power pack, but at the same time, I kind of don't want to mess with, you know, with circuitry of that scale. But yeah. Conrad says, Alex, you have a Porter engine, right? I did not know what they were, and I've since looked them up. I did not know about them. They carry all their own water, right? Cool. Yeah, I do have a Porter engine. So, let's see. So that's the Porter engine. And they carry their own water and fuel on board. So Yeah. I love this little thing. This little engine is really strong. It doesn't look like it because it's so tiny, but this little engine is really strong. I've seen it haul every one of the cars on my whole layout. Even all together, it's hauled them all down the track, which is really strong. So yeah, and then this one here is what's called a Forney. So I've talked about Forney engines on my my video about narrow gauge. So it was a video I put out last week about narrow gauge. So in that video I talked about Forney engines, and they're among my favorite style of engines. So this one is a Forney, and yeah, I love this engine. This is a rare one too. They don't make these anymore, and they're really rare to find. And I found a guy on eBay in the UK who had it, and I negotiated a deal to buy it from him real cheap, which was really cool. I was happy to buy that. So, and it runs just fine. I converted it to run from digital control to regular DC power. So, yeah. So I had to do that because my system is not a DCC system. It's just a DC system. Crystal says, myself built my own model railroad that is electrical G-scale, and I have model cities in the ground, floor, and basement with a connecting track, and I use a Pennsylvania 260 Mogul steam locomotive with 12 PAX carriages. PAX carriages? Nice. Yeah, I would love to work in a very large scale, like G scale, but they're so expensive. I looked into it because before I started, see, I used to be, when I was a kid, HO scale was my scale. HO scale is the most common scale that you can buy for model trains. And then as I got older, my grandfather got me into N scale. N scale is about half the size of HO. It's very small, but I liked it because since it was so small, you could actually make larger layouts with the same amount of space. So if this layout was in N scale, the trains would be this big, not even, like a third the size of these trains. And you could make a much larger layout out of that. You could make a lot of really cool track stuff with it. And I had N scale for years. 2 different layouts. I had 2 different layouts that were both N scale. But the problem I had with N scale is every time I tried to run steam locomotives in N scale, the small ones I like, they don't work that well. The only steam locomotives that work really good in N scale are the big ones. The real, like all the wheels and everything, and I don't like those kinds of engines. I like narrow gauge engines. So one day I was trying to decide, I'm like, okay, should I switch to G scale? It's the biggest scale. They're usually powerful engines. You can easily maintain them, all that stuff. And it was just too expensive. So I looked at other scales and I realized ON30 was the right scale for me. It's small enough that I could build a layout in my apartment and it will fit, but large enough that the parts aren't so tiny and the trains are still very powerful for how small they are. So yeah, ON30 is my scale. Cyborg says, hi Alex. Hello Cyborg. Conrad says, what do you think of cab view cameras? Like on people's model railroads, or the actual cab view cameras that you see like when modern train conductors have the cameras that look out onto the track? Which one? Cyborg says, I'm going to get a mini model of Queen Mary 2, color the lower hull orange, and funnels black, and call it Lusitania 2. Interesting. Oh. Conrad says on models. I actually think that's kind of cool when people will set up a flat car on their track. They'll put a little camera on the flat car, and they'll have their engine push the flat car through the whole track so you can film it and get the point of view that a person might get if they were as small as your layout. That's a cool thing. It works best when you have a big layout, because the bigger the layout, the more scenery there is. It wouldn't work so well on my layout because everything on the layout is inside the loop, and with the way that the trains are set up, the camera would always be pointing away from the layout. I would have to point the camera literally sideways, but that makes for very bad videos. I've spent enough time recording the Disneyland Railroad to know that just because the train is going that way, you never want to film that way. Because when you do, everything passing in front of the camera will become blurry. Like blurry as heck. So I've learned not to do that. So doing a cab view camera wouldn't work very well on my layout. Pax means passengers slash passengers. Okay. Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. Gordon says, hey Alex, have you ever been to the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin? If you haven't, I would recommend it. No, I've never been to Wisconsin before. Justin Green says, enjoying sitting here listening to all of your knowledge. I truly enjoy all your videos. I stumbled upon your channel and love your channel. Thanks for all your hard work. Keep it up, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Justin. Crittenden says, do you think Britannic could be raised and saved as a museum of the Olympic class of ships? She could. I mean, technically anything is possible, but I don't think that she will, because she's considered like a graveyard because of, you know, the people that died during that tragedy. Conrad says, have you seen the giant railroad layout in Europe that has planes that also actually take off from the runway? Yes, I've seen that. That's pretty cool. I was impressed when I first saw that. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, how did they do that? And I'm looking at the camera, I'm slowly going through the video, just frame by frame, looking at how they designed it. And it's absolutely amazing. Thomas Brooks says, I think that Queen Mary deserves a good leaseholder who will take care of her. Oh, I agree. I hope so. But I mean, she won't have leaseholders anymore. Yeah, they're done with that, because every leaseholder that has operated the Queen Mary has disappointed, you know, the city. They usually don't do a good job. So the city has vowed that they are done with the leaseholder system. No more leaseholders. They're going to give the Queen Mary to the Port Authority of Long Beach. The Port Authority will then run the Queen Mary from then on. So as to when that will happen, nobody knows yet. They're still working out the contract, figuring out what needs to be done to make the transfer possible. Yeah, Expedition Steve says, can't wait to set up my new N scale. Your old one. Yeah, so Steve was, Expedition Steve in the chat, he's the guy who built this train table for me. So he built the train table and everything. It's on rolling wheels and all that. It folds up when you need to move it out of the building. And then everything above that, all the foam and the landscape, all that will be done by me. But you know, he built that, and in exchange for it, I gave him my old N-scale layout. because I didn't want to do N scale anymore. So I was actually glad to give it to you, Steve, because I knew, I'm like, oh, Steve's gonna love this thing. Like, he'll buy all kinds of engines and stuff and put it on there. I only like the old steam, like the small like narrow gauge engines and stuff. So I couldn't do that with N scale. I mean, there is such thing as HON3, which is HO scale on a narrow gauge, and they use N scale track as its track, but those engines are not heavy enough to haul significant weight. So I chose ON30 scale because these are large enough to haul significant weight. And frankly, the bigger the stuff, the easier it is to fix things, you know. On N scale, everything was so tiny. I was working with little tweezers to fix stuff. It was ridiculous. It was just like, I'd be there with like my magnifying glass and my tweezers trying to fix stuff, and I'd get so frustrated because some things were spring loaded and you're trying to put the spring in and put the cap on, and it's just, oh, I hated doing that. Crittendid says, Alex, if you want a good ship model for your railroad layout, the Atlas models are really nice. There is a Queen Mary model and many more, plus the small and highly detailed Atlas models. Let me see. Queen Mary. Yeah, it's not detailed enough for me. It's really more like a toy. And it's not the same scale as the layout. It's not at all. In fact, I was trying to think how big would, if I wanted to have the Titanic to be the same scale as this layout, how big would the Titanic model be? So it turns out, if I wanted a Titanic built to the same scale as this model railroad, the Titanic would be about 22 feet long. For reference, this whole layout is 8 feet long. So it would be close to 3 times the length of this entire layout just to fit the Titanic next to one of these engines. So there's no way. But let me just cut short to anybody who wants to help me find a Queen Mary model. Let me just tell you right now, I've looked. There are no such things as a highly detailed, accurate, well-made Queen Mary model that is the same scale as my Titanic. There just isn't. I've looked. They don't make it. It doesn't exist. If you want a highly detailed, well-created model of the Queen Mary, you have to buy from a company that professionally makes museum quality models, which are hundreds if not thousands of dollars, which I don't have money for. So there just isn't. It's unfortunate, but I've looked. There's just nothing with a high quality detail. Everything that is out there is very toy-like. It's not highly detailed. It's just, yeah. I have talked to people who have Queen Mary models that are sorry, going back to my chat here. I have talked to people who have Queen Mary models that are what's the word? They're from like the 1960s and 70s and 80s, and they've altered the models to make them more realistic, but I don't even know how much work that would entail for me, honestly. because I've seen those models when they're fully built, and the detail is not at all accurate. Like, one of the models of the Queen Mary doesn't even look like the Queen Mary. I was like looking at it and like, that doesn't look at all like the Queen Mary. So it would take so much alteration. And even then, those models are hard to find because they don't manufacture them anymore. So it's actually kind of upsetting. People are still manufacturing Titanic models, but nobody's manufacturing Queen Mary models right now. So it's really unfortunate. Dirt Dog says, why are you not doing Disney videos anymore? Also, who was Walt Disney? You know, Dirt Dog, you've been on my channel several times, and I'm starting to get the feeling that you're mocking my videos by repeating by repeating the video names. For that reason, I am going to make it so you can't comment on my channel. Because after all this time, I'm starting to really feel like you're mocking my channel, so I don't like that. Gordon says, sometimes I think HO scale is a little too small for me. You know, honestly, for me, HO scale is the perfect size, but yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to like the engines I want to run, I always feel like they're just not strong enough. Like, one of my favorites is a 440 American type engine, and in HO scale they're great, but they depend on having what are called traction tires. So they're like little rubber tires that go on the outside of the engine's wheels, and you have to replace those when they break, because eventually they wear out. You know, you run your engine around and around and around, and eventually the traction tires wear out. And I you know, after having N scale and having like small 440s and N scale and even HO scale, sometimes the trains are so small that they don't pick up enough power from the track, you know. And so, like, I just felt like, yeah, you know, it was a lot of work to constantly replace the traction tires. So that's why I was thinking, well, maybe I should go with G scale, but then maybe I should just go with ON30, and I went with ON30 because at least, like, with these engines, they don't need traction tires. They're so heavy that they can haul all the weight themselves. Britannic says, where did you get your Titanic, Alex? It's a common model made by Minicraft, so you can still find the Minicraft models all over the internet. It's a good quality model for its size. I think the best quality model that they've ever made of Titanic is the new Trumpeter 1/200th scale. But mine is 1/350th, which is a common scale for ocean liners and other ships. And it's made by Minicraft. So it's a good quality model. It will require some extra work, though, to make everything fit together, because one of the problems I had with it was, like, nothing fit together perfectly. It was a little bit like everything, like the decks and everything, were not sandwiching together properly. So one of the things that needs to be done is, when I repair it, I'm going to need to make sure everything gets fitted together better. Because there's, like, gaps between the decks on my model right now, and it bothers me. It just drives me crazy. So, yeah. James B says, "Hi Alex, just wondering, what are the 4 pictures on the wall behind the train set?" Oh, okay, so I would pull them off the wall so you guys can see them, but I can't. They're far away. But the bottom one on the left side is a picture of Disneyland's Ernest S. Marsh locomotive, which is engine number 4. It's a painting of it. And then to the right of that is a small print of the Haunted Mansion's stretching portrait. There's a stretching portrait of 3 men in quicksand. They're all stacked on each other's shoulders. So that's the print of that. Up on the top left is a silhouette. I got that done on Disneyland's Main Street. They have a silhouette shop where you can get your silhouette cut out for you. And it was a really cool experience. So I have that on the top left. And then on the top right in the frame is a copy of the official Disneyland Railroad poster, the poster that was made decades ago. So yeah, that's one of my prized possessions, is the Disneyland Railroad poster. Yeah. Cunard says, "You'd have to replace your Titanic and start over to get both Titanic and Queen Mary. Would they be more for you or more to educate noobs on their relative size?" It would be both, actually, because because whatever Queen Mary model I end up buying, I'll probably have to buy another Titanic of the equivalent size, or the equivalent scale, I mean, so that way I could compare the 2 sizes. But mainly it's for me, because it would drive me crazy if I had, 2 of the world's most famous ship models, and then only to have them be completely different scales. It would drive me bonkers. I know I've been saying that like 4 times today, bonkers, but it really would. It's like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's OCD or something. But I would be really bothered by having 2 different scales of those ships. So I'd have to have the same scale. But the other reason too is also because I want to be able to show other people the different sizes. It's one thing when I show people on my videos drawings of the 2 ships to compare their size, but it's another thing where if I make videos, because you've seen some of my most recent videos, I'm in front of the camera talking to you guys about a subject. And in the future, it'd be really cool to be able to actually pan the camera over to the 2 models and show you physically the differences between the 2 ships. Having 3-dimensional models that I can compare and contrast really helps with teaching people the differences between the 2 ships. And showing people some really cool things about the 2 ships. So that's why I want them to be the same scale and of a high quality, because also too is that I also can't stand low quality models. In the 60s and 70s and 80s, when the Queen Mary models were last produced, they had lesser quality back then. All toys had lesser quality back then, The idea of making plastic model kits and stuff was still relatively, in its infancy. Now today we have methods of making really realistic looking models kits, but no one's ever made one for Queen Mary. It's just upsetting, but yeah. Crystal says, "I also have a museum grade models of RMS Queen Mary and RMS Olympic. And both were converted into remote control ships." Oh, nice. Gordon says, "Hey Alex, where do you think Disney got the Haunted ship idea for Queen Mary? Oh, that's easy. There, uh, the Queen Mary pretty much already lends itself to being called haunted. I mean, there was already some stories of hauntings on the ship, and then of course there was the fact that when a lot of people get on the Queen Mary, one of the first things that some people say is, "Oh, this place looks creepy." Then again, any old house, people think it looks creepy, you know. But that's why. It wasn't too hard to convince people that the place was haunted, you know, because people just look at it and they go, "Oh, that looks like it would be haunted," you know. So that's where they got the idea from. There was already a few stories buzzing about, and so Disney was just like, let's run with that. Let's turn it into a haunted place. They honestly felt at the time that making the Queen Mary seem haunted was the only way that she'd be successful, which is ridiculous. They started something that now it would be hard to get the Queen Mary out of, you know. It's unfortunate. Crittenden says, what happened to Queen Mary's original funnels? So when they brought the Queen Mary in for a conversion to a hotel, it was in 1969/1970 that they were doing the conversion process. One of the ways that they had to start with that was they had to remove the engineering stuff from down beneath the bottom of the ship, such as the boilers and 2 of the engines and the turbo generators as well, had to all be removed. And the easiest way to remove them was actually up through the funnel shafts. So the funnels are raked, which means that they're at a slight angle like this. So trying to haul something straight up at an angled funnel was not going to be doable. So they removed the 3 funnels one by one. And the reason why the Queen Mary's funnels have black bands down the length of them is because those are sections. So they removed the funnels little sections by sections. But the thing about funnels is that they're pretty much hollow. They're just a big tube, you know. They're massive, but they're a big tube. It's hollow. For the Queen Mary, there was almost no internal structure to support them. Most of the support came from the funnel stays, or the ropes, as some of you might call them. The ropes that are attached to the outside of the funnel that are embedded in the decks around the funnel. Those are called funnel stays, and those help maintain the shape and stability of the funnel out at sea. And without the funnel stays connected, the funnels are susceptible to crinkling up and falling over. Susceptible to it, not guaranteed. I'm just going to lay that out there. Susceptible to it, but not guaranteed. But nevertheless, the funnels were really old, so when they started lifting them out, there was no structure to keep them oval as they should be. So as the cranes lifted them, they just kind of collapsed in on themselves a little bit. They just kind of crinkled up, and as they laid them down on the concrete on the pier, they just kind of like started flopping over under their own weight. They just had no support structure left, you know. So they were scrapped. They were scrapped for their metal, whatever was usable. And then brand new funnels were made out of aluminum. So they made the 3 brand new funnels that we see on the Queen Mary today. Those are made out of aluminum, and they have an internal skeleton on the inside that holds their shape, as well as the funnel stays on the outside. Also help keep it from, you know, toppling over in high winds and stuff. So yeah, that's what they are now. But yeah, they were eventually scrapped. Let's see. Cunard says they should have painted the inside of Queen Mary's funnels as often as they did the outside. Well, they can't paint the inside of the funnels. And the reason why is because the funnels on the inside would get so hot. They would, again, you have to remember that the boilers are burning at, you know, a couple thousand degrees Fahrenheit. They're really hot, like enough to vaporize water, and then to vaporize the vapor You know, the Queen Mary ran off of what some people like to term dry steam, meaning that the steam is so hot, it's really not even steam. It's just superheat. You know, it's so hot that it's not even steam. It's just superheat. So that kind of heat coming off the boilers was enough that that if you painted the insides of the funnels, it would have just the paint would have just eventually burned and just fallen off. You know, it was so hot. The only way that you could make it work was to paint the outside of the funnels. So the inside of the funnels didn't need it. And you know, frankly, the insides of the funnels, the other reason why they didn't need it was because, like, some people would say, oh, but what about rain? Wouldn't rain rust the insides of the funnels? Not really, because the funnels were so hot. Any water that hit them would instantly vaporize. And someone even asked me on a couple live streams ago, they said, what happens to rainwater that goes into the funnels? You know, does it, like, hit the boilers or something and rust everything out? No, because the exhaust coming out of the funnels was so hot that as rain fell, it just vaporized as it fell into the funnels. So the insides of the funnels weren't really rusty or anything like that, because again, there was so much heat that the rain was never able to really affect the funnels. It's usually the outsides of the funnels that had the problem. The outsides of the funnels, they are, you know, directly affected by the weather. So that's why they're painted that way. So, yeah. Anyway, folks, we are at 2 hours now on this live stream. So, so from now on, these tea time live streams will be Wednesdays and Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be the new schedule. Wednesdays and Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Tuesdays will be a mini video, like a topic video. Fridays will be a history video. Saturdays will be a video, like a live stream about Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth. And yeah, so that's kind of the schedule. So I'll go over that again. Tuesdays is a mini video. Wednesdays is tea time. Fridays is a history video. Saturdays is a live stream about Queen Mary or Queen Elizabeth. And then Sundays is another tea time. So that's the schedule I'm going to try to stick to from now on. That's kind of how I think the channel will be able to succeed from now on. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, so I can't wait to show you guys what's coming up next in the coming weeks. We got some more videos about things. I think the next history video will be about the Johann van Oldenbarnevelt. That will be the next one. And then after that will be a Queen Mary video. So we're talking weeks ahead from now. So after that will be a Queen Mary video. After that will be probably a video about either Oceanic or Mauretania. So then you'll see we'll start getting into other ships now from now on. So I'm really excited about all the stuff that's coming to the channel. So anyway, thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.